You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Weekend at Bernie's.
In that case, we're putting Hans back in control. And, well, here's Hans's presentation, and I will continue with my story afterwards. Lima, Peru.
Oh, yeah. In 2014, I went down to Peru with Brian Forrester. I've known Brian since I lived on Maui in 2009. He had lived there previously and had met him there. And then he reached out and he's like, Hans, I need you to do my book covers and I'm starting to do tours. And so I really want you to get on a tour. And, I fumbled around finances and plane trips. And I'm like, how do I get to Peru? And so I ended up going in 2014, which was amazing. So you fly into Lima. Lima is the most, well, outside of Kathmandu, Nepal. Lima is one of the most chaotic cities I've ever been to. There are no straight streets. It's like you go 5 blocks and then the street cuts off to a 45-degree angle. And so finding your barriers is very difficult there, for sure.
Question. Is there like an old city Lima? Like
Yes, there is. No, yeah, there's actually a
That would be
pyramid
why.
in the middle of Lima. One of these
amazing.
not stone brick, but brick, like man-made brick style pyramids. And one of the museums actually sits on the precipice of it. All of a sudden, Dust Till Dawn comes to mind, but sitting on this old pyramid is this bar, right?
No, that's cool. Better have a picture of that. Come on.
No, I actually don't, because I'll get one. But Lima has some interesting sites for sure. So at the National Museum of Peru, they have this is one of the most amazing spots I've been to. This was very cool. Here's Brian. He's showing off the different time periods of what they think some of these artifacts came from that are found in the museum. But what's found in the museum is just baffling. So we've got, the flying Inca god. He's portrayed everywhere. This is on a tapestry. And then we have these pictures of what they think some of their ceremonial dress or faces looked like. And I started thinking about Nepal, because this is a depiction of Krishna or Shiva. And if you look at these depictions as well, these are very, especially the one on the left, this is very Hindu. It's hard not to see that.
Indeed.
It's hard not to see that. Yeah, right. And so it's like, what is the influence here? Why is there a very prominent, similarity? I can't say it's the same, but it's very similar to what you would see in India in both Shiva and Krishna, belief systems. Krishna belief systems. Sorry. So we've got some of these weird gourds. These are all over the museum. No idea what this is.
So I'm pretty sure what those are is you put in a liquid into it, and then when you move it around, it makes the sound of the animal it's depicting.
Oh, how interesting. Oh, similar to when you're at like Chichen Itza and you have the people blowing the flutes, but the flutes will sound like a jaguar call or a bird, depending on what flute they're using.
Yes, sir. And they've actually found these jugs throughout the areas and attribute them to the Inca, the Maya, and a couple others.
I was very fascinated with the art in this museum because, here we have one of the shrunken heads. Any of you that are Tintin fans, on the right, you have the broken ear, the Tintin in Peru artifact or MacGuffin that's part of that whole book. Tintin. Herg was a genius, man. He came up with stuff before it was even popular. I don't know where he was getting all this from, but the shrunken head just blew my mind, because it's like, oh, these exist. This is real. More tapestries. Here we have on the left They also have another version of this in Cusco, which is where I have my other picture. Well, it's actually the same picture, but it's from, I think these are from all over. I think this is actually from Cusco. But on the right, so on the left, you have the ancient Inca or pre-Incan glyphic writing. If you notice, there's similar shapes on this tapestry, but none of them are in any particular order. And so this is spelling out a story. On the right, we have the Quipu. And so the runners would run the Inca Trail. And if you're outside of Machu Picchu and you're looking at how the Inca Trail went up the side of a cliff on pegs, you've just got to scratch your head. These people were running this. Yeah, they would send runners, and the runners basically would run from township or, principality, kingdom, principality with messages, and they were all in these strands of knots. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if anybody has ever been able to decipher this, or even AI, what these knots represented, because obviously each one is placed at a different level and in a different color. And so who knows? This could be, crop formations, this could be politics in the middle, this could be, population control on the right. We really don't know, but it's very interesting that this was their form of communication, the Kipu.
Right, and their form of actual writing, and that the conquistadors slash Jesuit order, when conquering the Inca, destroyed all of, or as much of that as possible, to the point of rewriting their history, claiming they had no records, no written languages. And
they wanted the gold. Come on. But there were many civilizations before the Inca, and so the Inca inherited a lot of the ancient cultures that were there. And you see that in some of the architecture, which I'll show shortly. So
very nice.
These are some of the medallions that they would wear. Pretty amazing. The one in the middle I was very particular about because this is a smoky rose quartz, or a smoky quartz. And that thing is massive. I can only imagine what that weighs.
That's super cool.
Then we have these really interesting headdresses. The one on the right looks very much like what we see depicted in Egypt with the Hittites. So they always would wear these metallic headdresses.
A metallic and cone shaped, nonetheless.
Correct. Yeah. The one on the left is also very reminiscent of Egypt. We'll get into that because there are three other pieces that I swear come straight out of Egypt. But even what we're seeing here, with
that could potentially be telling a story with their knotted language, right?
Correct. Yeah, it could. It's interesting you say that. Let's zoom in on that. I never actually thought about that.
Right, with like the placement and the amount of those symbols with the lines. 100%. That's what that is.
Interesting. Oop. I guess I moved things out of frame. All right, so let's get into the next. So this is actually outside of Lima. When you're heading toward the Sacred Valley, you come into this little spot near the red. It's an aquifer that crosses the road. It's the Inca Gate is what they call it. And so there's this water aquifer very similar to what you would see in Roman times going across the top of the wall. And in the museum there, they have the Stele Ramunde. And so I retraced this from this, and this is what you see. And so one direction is interesting, but if you flip it upside down, it's also interesting. It's the breath, it's the 9 levels or 7 levels of the chakra breath, or the 7 levels of the chakra moving up. And so what actually is being depicted here? Is it a fire dragon, or
the tree of life,
or is it a massive headdress? Right, exactly, the tree of life. And so this is the La Stella Ramunde, and I was very fascinated by this piece because it's a relief. which means that instead of being engraved into, all of the engravings stick
Carved
out
out.
of. Yeah, exactly. So
That's
that
fascinating.
that to me
And
was one of the most fascinating pieces that I came across there, and it's
definitely got a
it's
lot of
it's like 3 feet
encoded.
wide by 6 foot tall, and
Wow,
probably
that
about
big.
a half a foot deep.
What?
Yeah.
That's mind blowing. And it I can't help but see some parallels of it almost looking like technology to some
Oh, correct.
degree.
That's why I had to draw it out. I was like, I went into Illustrator. I'm like, I'm gonna retrace this,
It,
and I
it
spent hours doing it, but there it is.
that's amazing work, Hans, and good on you for doing so that we can actually see uh, lots of the details and almost resembles what some of the supposed
Well,
quantum or
he's holding
supercomputers
like
look like,
two spheres that have this electrolysis coming off the top of it. So what is that? Plus all of
right?
the multiple faces, or some of them are upside down or not, and it's like, okay, this is interesting because when you flip it on the right side, it's all these faces going downward, and so it's very interesting. I've always thought this was a very interesting piece that came out of Peru, and nobody, well, of course they claim that it's from XYZ culture. It's not Inca, it's pre-Inca.
Absolutely.
I should look up what it is, but very, very fascinating because you don't see a lot of pieces like, actually, you don't see any other pieces like this in Peru. So here we are, in the bottom of the Larco Lima Gold Museum. You have
Oh my.
more headdresses, and so some of them have these, shales on them all the way up to the top. Obviously, it's been broken off. There's another one here on the right, and you see this in Egypt with a lot of the
Pretty
headdresses
different.
in Egypt. They're very, very similar, especially the headdress of Amun right here, especially without hieroglyphs on it, because oftentimes you see it with hieroglyphs or other aspects. But here, you clearly see it. I think this is at the Temple of Isis, the headdress of Amun.
And
It's clear.
that's
It's
made out
clear as
of
day.
gold?
Yeah.
Made out of gold, the giant V-shaped chest piece as well as gold. And if you were like
But
up
look
in
at this here
cloud,
on look at this here on the right. Okay.
oh, it's identical. But
So
the
if you
what
would
I was
flip
gonna
it
ask,
backward and hold it as a cape over your back, these two pieces would stretch over your chest, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see
So
what you're saying.
right here
100%.
in the middle piece, right
Yes,
here. Yeah.
I see. It's a back piece, not a chest. I see what you're saying.
But
100%.
they have it displayed as a chest piece. But
Okay.
the mouthpiece is the one thing I just cannot fathom. Let me see if I can zoom into that. What is that?
It probably is a guard of the electrical charge. And what I was gonna, well, what to say is that if you were, say, up in like a charged, like cloud or like it, high humidity and there's electrical storm going on, that it would almost seem with that how high up the two gold rays go off of the headpiece that potentially it would form a Jacob's ladder maybe of a arc between them or coming down. And like I can't help but feel it has something to do with static charge and
Why the
plasma.
two pillars? Would each one create a positive and a negative
Yeah,
coming down?
exactly. Yeah, it would.
How interesting.
It's two electrodes. One would 100% anodize, the other cathodize, and that's exactly how you get what's called the Jacob's ladder with the arc going up, sort of thing.
Okay, interesting. Appreciate that.
Right?
So these are some of the other gourds that you find in the museum.
Yeah,
These to
those
me
are
look
specifically.
Very Asian,
So
especially the one
sorry,
on the left and the one on the right.
sorry to interrupt, but those
Oh,
are
no worries.
specifically the ones, especially the one that has the dual in the middle, the
Yeah,
double
that's the most
up.
fascinating because it's
When
like,
you put liquids in those, they make those specific sounds and replicated noises. So maybe it's a call or something, who knows? But uh, you see identical ones that are in the shapes of different animals, and they
well,
literally
the
make
nose and the space above the nose is also open, and so I'm curious about that. As are the eyes in this one, but this is a closed vessel.
right. So clearly, with those open portions, they're not for like carrying water from the rivers, sort of thing, right? It's
No,
like
not I wouldn't imagine they were. Yeah.
it's for the acoustic properties.
So then we have some of the elongated skulls. These are all in the Cusco Museum. Just fascinating because, again, the scientists of today tell us these are all head bound, but the capacity of the brain is,
Scientists,
yeah,
more like
exactly.
gatekeepers. Real science, you look at it, and shout props to Brian Forster. And
Oh,
Cusco
I was
Museum,
so.
is that his museum or the one he works with or
It's no,
whatever?
he works for a museum in it's outside of Nazca. It's in Paracas, and
Right,
so
right,
they
practice.
always have all the grave robbers will bring their stuff there because they know they can sell it to the museum. If they sell it to tourists can't leave the country with it, unless obviously they're paying a huge big. So they'd rather sell it to the museum because they know they can make money and it's going to be preserved. And so a lot of these end up in the museums, which is amazing. Thank you, Brian,
Amazing.
for
All
your
right,
amazing
as
work.
opposed to the private museums, right? As opposed to
Yeah, correct.
being bought out and hidden by such institutes as the Smithsonian.
We
But
won't we won't talk about them anyway.
yeah, but
Another
props to, before you move on, to Brian Forster, and that he's specifically documented and shown that these skulls literally have a third like bone plate or whatever where the
no,
humans can
they
go
don't
through.
have a central
Oh, they're
plate.
missing. They're
And
missing
they're
it.
missing a plate, and
Right.
that's why they're not headbound. And when they did a grain survey of a human skull, they poured like rice grain into it and measured how much rice grain filled it. And then they filled these. It was unbelievable that it's like 1.6 to 1.8 times the capacity. So when you're doing head binding, it's like a balloon. Your balloon has so much within it, okay?
Before it bursts, and that
Before it
the
bursts. But if
headbound
you
one,
squeeze that balloon and you make it oblong, it still has the same internal capacity.
the same volume, and that
Correct.
the headbound ones that are documented
They're
have
much,
the same
much
volume as
larger.
humans, and these ones, like you said, are 1.6 to 1.8 times larger volume mass of brain density.
Correct. And so you can't have these headbound. Plus, they've also now found fetal skeletal remains with cranial enlargement. This was found in Romania as well as Paracas and small children. So it's like, yeah, you're not doing this. I'm sorry. Some of it, I will admit, is cradle bound because they were trying to mimic what they were seeing. And you get this a lot in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm at, with the flatheads. They did this a lot up outside of Seattle, up into where like Vancouver, BC area. This is all the flathead region. They
Really?
definitely were cradle boarding their children. Yep, they would put these straps on their heads.
Right, and also in Africa, some of the tribes and stuff.
Africa and also in Micronesia. Yeah,
Yeah, and really it makes sense that if there was this original species or subspecies or race or whatever the heck they were, and that it was the pharaohs and kings and rulers of before, that these different tribes that still have memory and lore and legend of these previous peoples, that they would be uh, deifying their own, trying to mimic them, right?
interesting comments in the chat. Thanks, guys. Yeah, no, the Isle of Malta for sure. There's also cranial, or not
Found
cranial
a
head
whole
bending, but
bunch.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, moving on. More amazing gold pieces with lapis lazuli added to it, as well as other stones. This one really fascinated me. So this depicts a woolly mammoth crushing
Oh,
somebody.
wow. It
So
totally does.
when were there woolly mammoths in South America?
And with the double spout as well, I bet it also makes the sounds that we're going to have to try to get that thing filled with liquid and see if it actually makes a woolly
That's
mammoth
interesting. I
call.
appreciate that. I've never actually considered that these had a sound quality to them. So that's a new thought. Here we have, family of friends, the hidden fortress right here, right? Again, with
Wow.
open valves, so there's the sound quality. If you close this and you close that, there's definitely sound quality. But this one is interesting because there's another piece in this set. We'll get there shortly. So this is a gold piece as well. So you have the hands for ears, right? I feel what
Oh,
I
look,
see.
there's still
I feel what
ears.
I hear.
The hands are above the ears directly.
Well, right, but it's like that. I feel what I see, right? It's
Got,
this
I
it's
gotcha.
magic. Yeah, yeah. But this is gold. This is not one of those other vases, which I thought was interesting. So they were making these also out of gold, and so why? And what was the purpose? More gold stuff from the Lima Larca Gold Museum. I
Ooh,
just
please zoom in. And the one on the left looks Asiatic, no?
Oh, of course, yeah.
The one in the middle, very, very interesting.
It's like a birth between God and human, because what's in the center, right? It's this child, or a face that's breathing life for the first time, vomiting, whatever. That's a child. But you have this, you know, bird creature and a humanoid on the other side. So
Right? And the fangs on that one,
yeah, right.
interesting.
Yeah, no, these were the most amazing pieces that I found when I was there. And so, how does this keep moving? I guess I moved it anyway. We'll put it back in the center. Moving on, other pieces. So again, here you have like these samurai Japanese motifs on the right.
Just fascinating.
All these egg shapes.
Oh, yeah, zoom in on that.
This is also part of the gold museum. This is all in gold, like 22 karat, I believe.
What is that? Did Crane from Ninja Turtles
Well, you can see the brain being activated, right? And then the hands become these electrolysis devices that are activating other things around it. And then it's sitting over water, and so under the water is this frog creature. So it's like the
it's
sun over the sun
fascinating.
over the water. Yeah, no, seriously, fascinating. That's why I'm sharing these, because it's been a while since I've actually looked at a lot of this stuff. Some more
Appreciate.
some more of these interesting gourds, or maybe they're not. They're just figurines, but they all had open holes in the top. So
And like on the head, like that almost looks like the one on the left, like Turkish Ottoman, almost Ottoman-ish, the hat
interesting.
style.
Yeah,
But
but each one
more
is
chin in the
very different.
middle.
This one's holding a gourd, right? This one's holding like a yama or something over its back, but still that same kind of
Yeah.
almost Suf or what do we call them here? The Shriner kind of hat going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah. Some more of these. Yeah.
And the
Here we
hands
have
again.
holding the tablet with the hand up. This is very much, Statue of Liberty on the right or left here.
Almost a
Somebody
monkey.
that's crouched over the bowl, but it's obviously an open vessel. Same with this one.
And the right one just looks so African,
Oh,
no?
exactly. Yeah, very much so, especially with the headdress. Yeah, I agree. Couple of bowls. This bowl is about 2 feet wide.
Wow,
So yeah,
pretty big.
it's big. This one's probably a bit larger, actually. It's like, what is going on there? So you have the serpent in the
The
middle,
classic symbols, the spiral and the like
and
bolt.
then all these lightning bolts or like electrolysis. And then, however they were holding this or retaining it, something went through this and held it up. So this could have been used for fire. It could have been used for alchemical process. Don't know. A couple more.
Again,
That
almost a
that the owl is very curious. Yeah.
oh yeah. And like a doorway or portal almost on the left one there around him, that
That's what
archway.
yeah, it's like the owl though, the eyes.
Oh, for sure. And then the right side again, almost looking Ottoman-ish.
Ah, interesting.
Can you zoom in on that guy a little bit? See the symbols on the top? Oh, they are the same-ish. Interesting. The
Like a
eyes.
circle within a circle that's connected. Could be seeds, could be who knows? We don't really know the language or the technology that they're depicting here. If it is technology, who knows?
Agreed. Could well
So the
be.
one on the right is the one that's the most fascinating to me because there's a depiction of this in Andor in the first season where one of the characters is being repaired by a four-armed creature. And he also has the bulbous eyes. And so art depicts art, right?
Fascinating.
Yeah, this one,
Ooh.
right? So what's going on there?
And then on the left one looks very like West Coast indigenous, like northern.
Very much so. Yeah, I agree.
Fascinating stuff.
So I'm just showing you all that there's a possibility that, cultures are traveling across the ocean for long periods of time. There's a few other pieces here, but they're like sexual, so I won't show them.
Appreciate that.
Yep, no worries. But they had a lot of a like Kama Sutra style gourds in a part of the museum. It was very, very fascinating. So here we are looking at some of the stonework in downtown Cusco. This is another part of the backside of the museum, and they had thousands, like row upon row of these things in the back of the museum that nobody's seen the light of day of.
What? Right? Like I called it. Called it.
Yeah. So here we are in Cusco. I hung out with Wilco, amazing shaman. It was very late night. He brought out all his stuff, blessed all of us. But just looking at this, you're like, oh my God, you got this massive, amazing green stone at the bottom.
Can you zoom in? That's real fascinating.
I'll move it up.
Like
What is
jade or
that?
jasper? What exactly is it?
Correct.
Wild.
And then all of his other shaman tools and whatnot. Wilco was one of the most amazing people I met. He traveled with us for half of our tour. I mean, he kept showing up. So Brian obviously brings him on to talk about ancient sites and civilizations in the area, which I always thought was fascinating. Here I am with Stephen Mailer. Woohoo! Anyway, here we are on the streets of Cusco, out in front of the hotel that we're at. Cusco is an amazing place because you can see there's still Inca wall here, but then you have modern, and so you see this everywhere where the modern replaces the previous, which replaces the previous.
Right, and that's clearly showing Inca work, and that also in Cusco there's the polygonal megalithic
Yeah,
wall
we'll get to that
stone,
shortly.
right? But civilization on top of civilization on
So
top of
this
civilization.
entire cathedral was built out of ancient Inca or pre-Inca stones that were located in Cusco. Just to give you an example of repurposing. Here we have recently they've talked about tunnel systems underneath Cusco. Here I'm showing you that they had this open on the street and they were showing that there was a tunnel system that went down. Here you see it going down.
Oh
all the
wow.
all the
Oh,
old
wow.
architecture, yeah, because they were trying to rebuild the sewer system. And so yeah, that
Wow.
to me was fascinating because
And
it was
it's
like,
in the
oh, we didn't know
megalithic.
there were tunnel systems under Cusco. And I'm like, I'm showing you this from 2014. There are tunnel systems under Cusco. How far they go? No idea. We're not allowed to go down there. But here you actually see the old wall that
Right,
was
the
there.
megalithic
Yeah,
structure.
oh, all this is megalithic. Yeah, exactly. And this is underneath Cusco, and they needed to
Perfect.
repair their, fiber optic line and sewage lines, and then realized, oh wait, there's something else here as we're digging. Anyway, so here we are at the Coricancha. Obviously, none of these bricks are the same size, but they all align. Like, this is the most perfect structure I've seen. I've been to Egypt, I've seen perfect structure, but nothing like this. This wall is perfect. You cannot fit a credit card or a dollar bill between any of these slits.
Wow, eh? Earthquake proof, and like you're showing there, there's like
This
reliefs
is
coming
this
out
is
of
part of the Inca Roca Wall, which is in the middle of Cusco. It's probably the oldest site. This is considered not Urapancha, but Hananpancha, I think. Urapancha is where they make stuff out of the earth, and Irapancha is where they actually are building these structures, and then the third realm is what the Inca did. And so here you have all these blocks that fit so precisely together. But because of an earthquake, it shattered them apart, and you can see that they scoop underneath, and the block above scoops underneath. And so it's like, wow, they really thought
they're
this through.
literally fitted into each other.
Yep. Here we have the famous on the right, the 13 angled stone. Somebody defaced this recently, which I'm really saddened about. I haven't actually looked up
That's
what
really
happened.
sad.
but but you also have these interlocking bricks that just don't make sense, and this is found all over Peru again here. So we're
And the same notches that are found in Egypt as well, correct?
not just Egypt but elsewhere.
All
And
over,
so
yeah.
what were the notches for? And when you go up to Ollanta Tambo, you see them very prolifically. Sorry, I don't have any of the photos of that. Here we have the 13 stone again that was defaced recently. Really saddened by that. But here you see that they're building shapes within the wall, right? So you've got
Depiction of animals.
the panther and the snake, and these are found within the stone structure of this wall. However, taking a photo like this, that's an amalgamation because you only have like at least at least 8 feet across from this to the next wall. So it's
Wow.
very hard. It's like being in Egypt in Hathor's temple or whatever in Dendera, where you're going down in the catacombs and you're trying to look at the Dendera light bulb, and you have like 2 feet that you're standing in. I mean, it's really small. So how do you get a photo of that without, kind of altering it in a sense? But here we have some examples of how tightly fit these things are with precision. And then it's like they went through and scooped out all the alcoves so that it had like a resonance. And I've always thought that was fascinating. So here's one of the walls that was broken apart on the right by the earthquakes that have happened there, and you can see that they're curved going all the way back to structure behind it. So there's a filler behind it. Here we have the example, Stephen Mailer on the left, of the old world meets the middle world meets the new world, right? You can see the repair job. This is not the same culture making.
Right, like yes, those are the ones that made the larger blocks that they can't still do, but they somehow did it, right?
Well, they tried to fill it in and make it work.
Exactly.
So again, this is where the earthquake shifted a lot of it, and you can see that these are curved, and they fit the curve of the blocks above them, which is really interesting. And they also curve back. So a lot of people think, oh, this is all geopolymer, and there's a good question about that for sure. What is geopolymer? It's like, okay, they were making bags of cement, and then they were burning the bags off, but those bags still would have left a residue in between the blocks. There's nothing. So I have a hard time believing that. These are more modern Spaniard structures, but I thought they were super fascinating. The store is like actually created a shirt using this glyph here. But you have the Lion's Gate going into an older structure, right? So this is new Spaniard versus the older structure around it. And then you have some of the local art on the right, and I was fascinated by that. It was like, oh my God, that's really amazing. So here we are at the core concha. We're looking down one of the tubes that has been cut out. You can obviously see that two structures here have come together, right? And then they drilled this hole through it. And the question is, how? Another one, right?
Indeed.
And so this is at the core concha as well. On the left, you're looking through the different walls that are in the middle of it, and they're going back 4 or 5 spaces. So you have this false window that ends up looking out at reality in the back corner. But on the right is another one of these drill tubes that's there, and you're like, what is doing this? Because you can see that something clearly was dragged through it while it was drilling. You have these 3 striations. Yeah, exactly. This is one of the weirdest structures. Nobody knows what it is. They've built it up as a door, but you have all these strange holes that connect as if there were copper wiring or some other wiring that connected to other structures. But these holes don't go anywhere, and so this would be like a solid fill with some sort of
pipe or wiring or something.
Yeah, exactly. I can't quite fathom what
Just
it
like
is.
we do today.
Because you see this and it's like, okay, these holes actually go through to the other side. These do. And so do these. You can see where they come out. So there's something that's going through there that's being held.
Piping 100% must have been.
But what is that, right? Yeah. No, Tokar. No, please don't touch. So here you just have a random block sitting in the core concha. What is that? Come on.
With a perfect square carved out.
What do you think that is? I don't know, but something I've obviously
Something clearly fitted
wrapped
into it.
around this, but this also gives the question of what the knobs were used for, right? For holding things. Also at the core concha, there's a tunnel system underneath this, but there's this weird octagonal box, right? What is this? And this is the size of a
Fascinating.
large bathtub, but it sits over a tunnel system that goes into the core concha. There's no holes in it. So what was it used for? Except this structure here on the right. What is this, right? That's the only thing that comes in and out of it.
Once it was sealed with the lid.
Ah, well, no lid's been found, but now we're in Cusco. Cusco's beautiful. You're at 13 or 12,000 feet. Man, the rare air up there is crazy. I thought it was bad living in Kathmandu at 4,800 feet, but Cusco takes the cake. And here you are at the Museum of Cusco, but this is one of the old walls. So this is very similar to what you see in. Well, we've been to Cusco this whole time, but this is what you see in downtown Cusco is this like perfection of masonry. None of these pieces are the same size, as you can see, but they all fit together perfectly. So this is something that possibly, as you said, has to do with anti-earthquake device. Yeah.
Absorbing the energy and the polygonal design of them for sure.
Yeah. We left in the morning from Hotel Ruines, the Ruins Hotel. Great name. And we went up above Cusco to this random cave. And this cave has some fascinating artifacts inside of it. They cut this out of the wall to get in there. You can see this here on the left. But inside is this platform, and above it is another cave. But they cut this out of the solid bedrock. Why? What was the purpose? So here I am above that. I'm in the upper cave looking down at Brian and some of the people on our tour. But you can see this water channel or whatever they're using to come in here, which is this up here on the upper left. That's me standing on the other side of it looking at it. So I'm actually standing where I am here on the left. Stood up and took a photo of that. But what is this? Why is this channel dug out here?
Right? Like so much resources that would have had to go into constructing that, whatever the means were, that it's like it has to have functionality.
Oh, for sure. And so here you have the evidence of the tool marks, right? So whatever is plowing through this is a curvature blade. It's very big. And
Are you able to zoom in on that a little bit, please?
Oh, for sure. It's vitrifying, and you can see the striations from where the pressure was. It's vitrifying whatever it was plowing through. So this is bedrock. I can't remember. It's a form of granite. This isn't limestone like you see in Egypt. So whatever is cutting this is plowing through this at a high rate. It's leaving its arc, and that arc is huge. But it fits within, the structure beneath it. Again, more cut marks from this site.
So strange. And iron
for
oxide.
sure. Why? I mean, what is the purpose here? This is no clue. So here's my analysis of this. You've got tool marks. This is the one I just showed you. And then you have these other tool marks, and they're very obvious because they've left a track that's now been somewhat filled in by dust and debris over time.
And it
But
looks
this
almost like vitrification or
oh,
something.
because of whatever's plowing through it is moving at such a high rate that it's caramelizing or vitrifying the rock because of heat, right? That's heat transfer.
Yeah, but just like the physics chemistry of it, it couldn't be a metal because the metal would melt before
The
that
rock does. Yeah,
stone,
of course.
right?
No,
Like,
exactly. You're 100% correct with that. Yep. So what are they cutting this with and how and why is it leaving this kind of scarification? Again, this one in the middle here is this structure is this here. So it's like this is melted.
do you have
Uh,
to interject? And I know that you're not quite on board with it, but it could parallel also be not vitrification, but solidification if it was indeed cast from a chemical crystallization process that we are completely unaware of at this point.
There is that, but we're in a cave. So this is deep in the bedrock of the natural surroundings. That's the only issue I have with that. It's like this is cut out of the cave
Fair.
already.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, that's the only thing because it's like what is this scoop mark? I mean, that was what I showed here, right? What is this?
Oh, can you zoom in a little bit though? Because
And
there's
we
it
did
could
before,
be
but
massive,
you can
massive.
see how it bends around into the girth, and you can see the striations. Let me see if I can.
But the block directly below it, like, is it
Let's see here.
massive macro like megalith
This
cap?
structure is probably this area is about a foot. That's about a foot wide.
Okay. Yeah. I see
But
what you're
this is
saying.
in this cave. I mean, it's super random. Again, here here we have my analysis of these things. Like what are they? Why?
Right?
What are they?
Why? Like so much effort, so many resources, regardless of method, had to go into it that the only logical, sane conclusion is that these had to have functionality and purpose for them to dedicate those sort of resources into construction.
Yeah, tool mark 4 is this slide. Oh, sorry. Damn it. Went too far back. It's this slide here. Okay. So tool mark 4, which is here, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
structure. That's this structure right here. And this is looking into
That's
this
wild.
cave on the left. Mind blowing. So this is on the way up to Sexy Woman. So you're driving up the trail and it's like all of a sudden, hey, let's stop here and we're gonna go see this cave. It's like what is this? So this is this is the analysis that I put together years ago, but it's like you can obviously see that something is cutting all of this. There's obviously tool tracks. They're vitrifying the rock on many of these structures. Tool Mark 3 is right here. So you have this here you have the curvature of the blade that doesn't obviously fit within this structure, so that doesn't make sense.
I see what you're saying. Do you mind zooming in a little bit on
On
that?
this part,
So,
sorry.
the where you've got so there's four separate types of tool marks, or the same sort of tool marks that you've
They're all
got?
very similar. It's a blade that's cutting like 2 Mark 2, 2 Mark 1 here, which is here.
I see what you're saying.
2
Okay,
Mark 3 is this weird elongated structure, which is this zoomed in. And then 2 Mark 4 is actually on the top surface of sorry, where am I? This here. So tool mark 4 is right here. It's on the top
Wow.
surface of that, which is this. Tool
That
mark 4.
is truly mind-boggling.
What?
To
But
try to
what's the
make sense
purpose of
of
this cave, right? It's like,
exactly, like trying to make sense of it all, of like what are we actually looking at, what could have been the functionality, and what were the processes and technologies used in constructing all of this.
100%. So across the street from this is this. This is literally across the
Oh,
road from this cave.
wow.
So here you have massive tool mark going through this. It's like,
So
what is that?
if you zoom in on that, Hans, that I am almost 100% sure of is not tool marks, but indeed the remnants from the casing of a pour and the like what the
Which
wood would
wouldn't
be,
surprise me. This is a massive, like,
right? And that's
boulder
on the
kind of
outside.
structure. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
that's on the outside. So this is potentially cast geopolymer, and those are the indentations
Well,
in
you kind of see that
impression
in the in
of,
the in the weird scoops as well. It's like over time, this is
yeah,
correct,
but from
right?
the what the heck is it called? The forms, the actual wood and metal forms that are put
We
in.
did a show on this. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Interesting. Again, same structure.
right.
That's that tool mark I was
And all
talking
the
about.
holes and bubbles on this stuff, like that's definitely resembling a pour of a geopolymer mixture. The framework, right? The stem wall. Like that literally
This
looks
is
like
literally like 100
concrete.
feet from that cave that I was just showing you. It's across the road from it.
Wild. So that I would, over the cave carved or cut with some sort of high technology, and then this I would postulate is definitely poured geopolymer, and why you see all the bubbling
Oh,
and
for
different
sure. Like all these
impressions,
huge
and
pockets. It's like
yeah,
pore formation
and then the straight
or
lines
weak
at the
structure
very
over
top
time that's degenerated. Yep, I agree with
that
that.
rides out. And if you look at the very top right, those straight lines going down through it, those again would be impressions from the
This one you're
form
talking about
structure.
here,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that there's a couple more just to the
Up
left
here
of
as
it,
well, same thing. Yep.
right? And
Interesting.
that's where you put like the wood forms or whatever, and it pours around it. And it would also explain at the very bottom left, you see what looks like some of the concrete slag. There's the straight line. So move your mouse down just an inch or so, a little bit more. Yeah, see that square thing in the middle, or this
Oh,
rectangle?
this here.
Yes. And you see what looks like where the wood would have been, and then the slag that's
Because you
piled
have
out of
these
it.
defined
Yeah,
definitions. Yeah,
like
interesting.
that's
Oh,
literally what you see in concrete pours today on buildings.
I've never thought about that. Wow. Thank you. That's why we're
Yeah,
having this discussion. I've
absolutely
never
right.
shown these photos to anybody. It's like kind of random.
But
So now we have Fort Peru. So this is the Red Fort. You can see where the old structure was recombined with newer structure, which is recombined with newer structure. But this is considered the Red Fort. This is like right off the road. I mean, you're driving into the Sacred Valley, and it's like right there. You're like, oh well, we're stopping here. We're gonna check out
fascinating.
the Red
Uh,
Fort.
do you mind going back first and zooming into the top left? What appears to be straight terraces built into the slopes of this picture.
Oh, up here. Oh
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Hold on. These photos are huge, so I'm sure I can.
Yes, high res. Yeah, look at that. You see all of those lines. That's not pixelation. That is 100% terracing. and that's the
Oh yeah,
identical
this
style,
is what they attribute to the Inca, and so the Inca were masters of terraces.
right?
But
But we know it's much older, and I've why I instantly identified that is it's identical to the terracing that I discovered at the Medicine Hat Badland Guardian geoglyph sites in Alberta.
interesting. So here you have the build of the wall, the rebuild of the wall. I mean, you can see where they rebuilt it. It's smaller stones. But the larger megalithic stuff is really impressive. It's oh my god. So
And always at the bottom.
here's what you see when you go up close to it. So you can see where they picked all this out. But what are the burn marks, right?
No doubt.
That's up close at the Red Fort. Again,
And look at all of that on the right side, the burn marked aspects of like, well, that one, but then the next picture that you just put up on the right side of that wall.
oh, correct. Yeah, yeah. So you have megalithic structure that's been reconstituted by smaller stonework that doesn't fit the same as the megalithic structure. And that's that's kind of crude for megalithic structure, but it all fits symmetrically. The rest of it on top of it does not.
Right? Absolute polygonal structuring.
Again, Red Fort. So here you have, Ur Pacha, the earthwork on Pacha, the work on top of it. And so they were trying to mimic and place stones that fit metrically above what was naturally there. But then you have the recreation work on top that just didn't work.
Very apparent.
Yeah. Same here. This is also at the Red Fort.
Just the scale and size.
Oh, they're massive. Yeah, correct. Some looms. Anyway, that was at that place. So here we have Zone X. Zone X is one of the most
What?
interesting spots I've ever been to in my life.
Yes, please zoom into this. Like,
So this is a
what?
model of the area around Zone X. So they were creating a model in the rock or cemented where they knew where the water flow would go. They knew where they wanted to terrace things. We do this today with Legos and other things. We build these small models and I'm like, oh, this looks
So
amazing.
this is a map you're saying of like
Yeah,
the overall
correct.
surrounding of like the valleys or whatever.
Correct.
Wow. But so here's the thing, like how do they claim that they were able to make that without the technology or ability to get like a full 3D topographical map of the area that they're doing and then
Bingo.
putting it into that? Like you need 3D rendering software essentially for that, especially that quality and depth. Like
You
what?
got stairs, you got platforms, you got waterworks that come through. And then you go into the cave here, and inside of the cave here is this kind of stuff.
What?
That's in this cave right here. So this is the massive structure. I mean, this is huge. So you walk into this structure here, and you're basically seeing this. There's platforms. Should zoom out because there's a lot to see here.
What? And those cut, like, look at the size of that chair. Like, that's for a giant, if that is a chair or a throne.
Who knows, right? And then you have these massive cut marks, siphoning it off. You have these alcoves here on the left that are within the structure underground. It's like Zone X. That's why I guess that's why they call it Zone X. They just
Zone X. Don't
they
look at Zone X. Don't look at the X. No.
Zone X Peru. Yeah, look it up. So here we have Sexy Woman. We have the mushroom cave that goes into Sexy Woman.
I didn't know about that part.
And you have all these weird upside down staircases or cut marks. Everything seems to like have flipped in a lot of portions. Yeah.
Like,
and you can see the cut marks underneath all
clearly,
of them.
yeah.
So what's cutting this, folks? I mean, this is a primitive culture. Another site at Sexy Woman. Obviously,
Sexy
we're
Woman?
above. Yeah, this is Sexy Woman. Yes. Now, Sexy Woman is above Cusco, so it's at 13,000 feet, but it sits above Cusco. This is on the far corner of it. Here you have these weird platforms, broken rock. What is going on here? Here you have the famous slides, so people will slide down these tubulars. To me, this looks like volcanic rock, so maybe at ancient time there's a volcano here. Who knows? But then from that top of here,
oh yeah,
you see Sexy Woman. Okay. So look at the size of the people on the side of the stones around them.
They're literally the stone megalithic blocks are literally larger than the people.
Yeah, what is this? The Olympic stairs? Bronze, gold.
Right, like, and how high are those like cuts? Like several feet, or
that's probably a meter between each. Yeah. Then you're down at the wall itself. Sorry, what's going on here? Here I am standing in front of one of the pieces to show you scale and size. These things are massive. Sexy Woman blew my mind. Yusuf and I almost missed the bus because we were looking at a wall like this, and he and I were sitting there for literally 20 minutes. And Yusuf, because he's from Egypt, he's like, they would have put this up in one piece. They would have lifted it all up in one piece. This was something that was laid out on the ground and lifted. He's like, the story that they're telling us that they used these certain tools and made sure that everything fit snugly. No, this was all laid out on the ground and put up as one piece. And you kind of see it. It's weird. This is the what they call the minister or the abbot, whatever. He's got his hand forward. But on the right here, you see how these things interlock. And how are you doing this? Seriously, how are you building all these constructs? I think this is the wall that Yusuf and I were looking at for eons. He was just like, they had to put this up in one piece.
Yeah, or poured.
So I would be about this high on here. You can see where my cursor is.
Yeah.
Those are massive, each one of these
12 to 15 foot walls.
Yeah, and this is like, a 100-ton piece right here. Some of the corner pieces that you see are massive, right? So anyway, just showing you guys.
Oh yeah.
And then you have these weird waterways that would come through as well.
Right, like engineered piping structures or electrical or something, right? Like they had to have purpose and function.
Anyway, that's the end of my tour with that one.
Absolutely amazing.
But just to show you guys, a little bit of Peru, because Peru is You go there with 100 questions and your BS meter in the red, and you leave with your BS meter shattered and 1,000 questions. What am I looking at? How is this even possible? And a lot of people claim this is all geopolymer, but I disagree with that. It's all cut out of, it's not andesite. I'm trying to think of the stone. It actually comes from 3 valleys away where all this stone comes from. So they're not only hauling this across valleys, they're hauling it up and over mountains to get it to Cusco, above Cusco.
Right.
Because
And
Cusco is at
wow.
11,000 feet and Sacsayhuaman's at 13,000 feet. So go figure.
So that's your last picture in the
It
presentation.
is. Yeah.
Before you
correct. In
stop
this one.
sharing, I'm just going to load, and I believe it was not sure that suggested or Fourth Wiseman, not sure probably. But here we go. Boom. These are bagged concrete walls from today and looking decently
Similar, but not as precise. Yeah.
Right, but we don't have the same level of technology as them. But it's a potential.
So the question is, was there geopolymer used? And as you cited at that site across from the cave,
Yeah, completely different style, right?
very different style, and it looks like a geopolymer or some sort of poured concrete. But then let's look at the history of concrete, right?
Exactly, and that you've actually been there and looked at them and seen the difference between the cut marks inside and what is the bedrock, and compared to what actually looks like cast concrete that's actually showing the indentations of the forms that they would have been poured into.
Correct. Oh yeah, just beyond fascinating. And so my question to you is, do you see alchemical symmetry or symbology in any of this?
I do see an alchemical process, and has to do with my discoveries of the electrochemical breakdown and recrystallization processes of metal elements, and then connecting that into the minerals themselves. And I tie it back also to the work of Bob Greenier with the wind hex device, which it's
I gotta look that up.
yeah. And so what it is it doesn't require electricity. It's able to spin the air into these fast moving counter vortices that then break down the ionic bonds of rock, turning it into powder. And that would be the process that they would be able to have used potentially. And he suggests or theorizes in the work with the wind hex that it was the process utilized by some of the ancient technology.
Well, they use
able
today for oil extraction and other like land formation, right? Correct.
Something similar, but this is like a new technology that essentially is just using the power of the vortex, or like tornado spin, and the level of wind and charge that is created in
Not
the
to be
rotation.
confused with Amico's Wintex technology, which is all about soil sampling. But
Oh,
yeah,
I'm unaware of that.
oh
Interesting.
yeah.
Yes,
I was doing a quick search on this, and that's what comes up as Wintex Corporation. So
fascinating. I've not heard of that one. Could be
Wintex device can refer to a few different products from Windex Agro, atomic soil samplers, or software used for installing and commissioning Texcom alarm systems. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, that's news to me. I've only heard of it through the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, and fascinating. We're gonna have to look more into that afterwards.
Everything is usurped, my friend. Everything is usurped. Yep.
Oh, exactly. Indeed, it is. Do it again next week. Ta ta.
Appreciate sharing some of
Crazy mother. Yeah.